now to set attacking fields and attack and put pressure on England.
Certainly done that. But Nasser, you've been, well, it's dogged you for years, hasn't it? The putting in of Australia all the way back in Brisbane. But I mean, you know, Ben Stokes, 2 Test matches on the trot, has inserted the opposition. The first one at Headingley seemed very strange given the weather conditions and the forecast and all the rest of it, and they kind of didn't get away with it, but won that one. He's done it again, and it's turned out even worse for him. How do you see that call now?
Well, you only win if you win. So they won the last game. He'll say, well, I told you so. It didn't deteriorate that much. You could argue that India, if they'd taken their catches and been a bit more ruthless, and if Jadeja had bowled a better line on that last day, the result wouldn't have gone that way. But they won the Test matches. Yeah. So as a captain, you know, you take that. Here, I think it hasn't done as much as they thought. For an hour, it did a bit for Chris Woakes bowling at that far end, but it hasn't done it that much, let's be honest. Since lunchtime yesterday, day one, it's done very little. The stats, and we did a pitch report this morning with Stuart Broad, it's seamed less, it's swung less, it's bounced less, it's been slower, it's spun less, it's done nothing. So you can't say that's what you expected it to do. And whatever you say, oh, we'll have a chase and we'll do it at the end of the game when the opposition, who have become more ruthless and their captain's gone on to get a magnificent double hundred, then you are. And what it leads to is, A, physical demands on the bowling attack, because you've gone back-to-back now bowling first on flat pitches. So physically you saw Carse's pace drop off because his toes hurting again. And then I go back to mentally, that takes its strain on the batting lineup, again being in the field for a long period. So it does catch up with you when you go bowling first in 2 Test matches.
Great time, I think, probably. We talked about the pitch conditions, but to go back to Shubman Gill, I mean, what an achievement. Incredible innings. 269, batted for the best part of a day and a half, maybe a day and 2/3. Highest score by an Indian in England, highest Test score by an Indian captain. I mean, that sort of answers one or two critics that he might have had after the first match at Headingley. And I nicknamed him the Persuader because in an era where we see so many players sort of bashing the ball to the boundary, he just coaxes it there, strokes it there, and plays in sublime fashion. What did you make of it?
You mentioned batting a day and a half, and you know, I can't think of 4 false shots. You know, in that entire length of time, you know, when he goes, he absorbs the pressure. He's the captain of the side. The team is 1-0 down, and you know what I liked was what he learned from that mistake he made in the first Test match. That was after cruising along, the way he got out to Shoaib Bashir.
Chipped one to back,
deep mid wicket, and there was a collapse. Yeah. So that would have played on his mind when he came out to bat this morning. You know, overnight 114, he said, listen, I've got to get a big one. And sure enough, he got a big one and hardly put a foot wrong. But determination, the application, the concentration was there for everyone to see. And yet at the same time, scored at a pretty good rate. Yes, he got company from Jadeja and Washington Sundar. But what a knock this is. And it augurs well for India for the future because, you know, I thought the selectors did the right job in making him captain. I also said at that time, do not tickle him for 3 years. You know, let him be there. Let him learn from overseas trips. You know, you're only going to improve. Don't expect him to be a champion captain day 1 or day 2. Give him time. And the only question was, can he handle that pressure? That he's answered with 200s.
Hasn't he just?
Did you mean to go skill, will and gill in your very first sentence, by the way?
What do you think?
Knowing you, yes, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, what did you make? It was a fabulous thing. 2 great displays of batsmanship from him over the first 2 Test matches.
Chanceless. Yeah. And as Ravi says, not just chanceless, but there were no shots where he's fallen over at the crease or nicked it through slip or whatever. You know, he's not going to make ugly runs, is he, Shubman Gill? I don't think I've ever seen him make ugly runs. That was just a fabulous double hundred. He probably a bit disappointed. He may have been eyeing a triple hundred, maybe even Sehwag's highest total for India. And at the rate as well. It wasn't like they were just surviving and taking the runs. You know, this game, you're going to need to score quickly. If you're going to get 20 wickets on this very flat pitch, you're going to need to score your runs quickly, and he absolutely did that.
Did you find or did you feel that there was any point? I mean, it's not often that Ben Stokes kind of runs out of ideas or runs out of options, but did you feel that point was reached at some time today in the field?
When Harry Brook comes on to bowl, you've sensed that, I'm not taking away Harry as an all-rounder or anything, but you sense that we may be down to our last chance saloon here or whatever. I was a bit surprised he didn't bowl Joe Root a bit more.
Yeah.
Joe came on and bowled that absolute Jaffa to Washington Sundar to get him out. But Joe is a better bowler than sometimes we make him out to be. Now, whether they're looking after him, but I would have given Bashir a bit of a rest at times because he's got slightly different arm angle, isn't he? Joe's a bit lower, Bashir's a bit more over the top. Everyone talks about his high release point. Joe's there, so I might have gone with Joe Root a bit more.
I was wondering, because we didn't see Woakes or Stokes after the first session as well. I mean, is that Stokes looking after his body? Because there were times there when it was crying out for some of his aggression, some of his golden arm, but we didn't see him at all.
No, yeah, that was look at the long term. There's always a short-term picture as a captain where you're trying to win every day, every game, but the long term of what this series and what's coming up after in England are three-quarters of the side if they don't have their influential captain. I think there'll be a real rejig. Two sides have seen it differently. England have gone back-to-back with the same attack, which has been really hard work on flat pitches, and then there'll be huge changes in the last test, in the next test. You can imagine Archer coming in, maybe Sam Cook coming in, maybe Atkinson coming in, others been rested. India have seen it differently. They've taken their star bowler in Bumrah out and saving him for Lord, so it'll be interesting which strategy works better.
Speaking of strategy, Ravi, at the 500, it looked as though India might have wanted to have pushed on to 600, made the follow-on 401. How do you see it playing out from here? I haven't seen a great deal in the way of turn. Yes, Siraj and Akashdeep have taken early wickets, but now England seem to have just settled a little and the pitch is very, very flat. Can you see India forcing a win, taking 20 wickets here?
They'll try and do that. I like what they saw. I saw of India, this evening. They realised what these conditions are, and also, you saw the odd ball keeping low. If that happens, then I think this attack becomes a little more potent, because with Akashdeep, he'll give you control. He'll target the stumps, he'll bowl stump to stump, and if the odd one keeps low and nips back, he comes into play. Siraj, is a trier. My issue is Prasidh Krishna. For long spells, can he be consistent? If he can be consistent, then you're in business, because the two spinners, will do their job.
Are those two spinners, are they going to find enough purchase? Are they the type of spin bowlers that can rip a side out? Say second time round, so they get knock England over for less than the follow-on, ask them to do it again. Are they good enough to kind of take 10 wickets between them should nothing happen for those fast bowlers?
They are, but they won't be able to do it as quickly as if a wrist spinner had played. Wrist spinner would be in business. If there's rough outside the off stump and you have variety of a wrist spinner with the leg break, the googly, the flipper, coming into play, then you're asking some real questions. For a finger spinner, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. They'll have to have a lot of rough outside that, either the left-handers off stump or the right-handers off stump for them to really come into play, because nothing much is happening out of the straight. I won't have a sleepless night playing against a spinner for the next couple of days. But if there was a genuine quality wrist spinner, yeah, he could be in business.
Well, I sense Ravi's still not 100% sold on the changes that India made for the team. What about those? Let's go back to England's batting again. You mentioned the fact that they were three pretty poor shots. I mean, Ollie Pope trying to hit a ball from outside off stump through mid-wicket, first ball. Ben Duckett doesn't nick very many, but he got away with one, didn't he? And at Headingley was dropped at backward point, didn't get away with it today. And then Zach Crawley with it. I don't even know how to describe that stroke from Zach, having played beautifully up until that point, and nicking one to slip there.
I think Duckett probably was the one you're least disappointed, because that's how he plays, in as much as he doesn't leave much, and he left 2 balls in the last game consecutively. Yeah. So and I'm surprised he doesn't nick many, but he doesn't. He just plays, and today he nicked it. The other 2 are a concern, because Ollie Pope, if you look historically, he starts series really well. In the last series in India, he got 190 and then fell away, and he doesn't want that pattern. Even before that, he's had that pattern of starting well and then falling away. And if you look, he walked off one day at Headingley 100 not out. The next day he didn't get many in the second innings. He's got Duck here. He's got to sort of arrest that decline in a series. And then Zach Crawley, if you look at him this summer in domestic cricket, he doesn't get many runs in the first innings, and when he has scored, it's been in the second innings. And that sort of sums up Zach Crawley for me. When it's doing a bit, he looks incredibly vulnerable, and when it's not doing a bit, he looks a world beater. So Headingley second time round, when it wasn't doing much, brilliant. First innings, when they got that Jaffa from Bumrah, not so brilliant. Here, You know, when it swung away, first few balls, bang, 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 you go, wow, this lad can play. And then when it swings, he nicks it. You could argue, well, that's the same for everyone, isn't it? When it moves, you're vulnerable. But for him, the differences are too big. And that's why his stats are what they are. 31, he averages in both first class and test match cricket. The only thing I'd say to Zach Crawley is at the end of your career, is that what you want? At the end of your career, do you want to be remembered? You may play 90 test matches or something. But do you want to be remembered as someone who averaged 31, 32 in first-class cricket, test match cricket? Or do you want to be better than that? And if he wants to be better than that, he's got to put away that shot he played today.
I think from India's point of view, they'll always believe they'll have a chance with the England top order. Because at times it can look loose, you know, with the way they play.
Yeah.
You know, and when you see the techniques. So if you bowl in the right areas, you must believe you have a chance to have them at 50 for 3 or 60 for 3. You know, as opposed to when India bat, they've got players with solid technique.
Yeah.
You know, England will have to bowl well. So if it's doing a bit, then I feel India will always believe they have a chance. So this test match becomes important now. They can draw level here. This is going to be a cracking
With
series.
Bumrah to come back.
Yeah, I think what we've got to be careful with as pundits is that we don't get too up and rave about them when they play well and then go the other way when they nick off like they did today. We were all raving about them at Headingley and wow, isn't Bazball great? But we did have the caveat in there that they were smart there. I just don't think they were particularly smart tonight.
OK, well, play has drawn to a close here at Edgbaston. It's been another fascinating day. It's been a day dominated by India and in particular their captain Shubman Gill. I think the crowd got their money's worth. You might even have managed to sneak all of the overs in. You never know your luck. But we will be back tomorrow. I will probably have 2 new guests. They won't be as good as these 2.
I'm not doing this again with you.
No, you're not doing it. No, you've decided you're never doing it again, which absolutely suits me fine. So we will see you tomorrow after day 3 for a catch-up on what has happened here at the Test match at Edgbaston. It's fascinatingly poised, although India are dominating, over 500 runs ahead still on first innings. See you tomorrow.
Yes, 23 years of age, Yashasvi Jaiswal is at the start of his international career, really. Just 21 test matches so far, but already the numbers are stacking up. He averages over 50, which I suppose is the mark of a great player these days. He's got 500s. Very good away from home, with hundreds in West Indies, Australia and England so far, and he loves playing against England. He averages 82, 300s, 2 of them double hundreds in that fabulous series in 2024 over in India. How good is he, Kumar, and how good can he be?
Well, then let's take the 2 questions separately. How good is he? The easiest way to do it is look at these numbers. And they're incredible. Any young cricketer with this as their foundation, you know that he's incredibly good, not just technically, but temperament-wise. And he has an appetite that separates him from other young cricketers of the same age. He's got a debut 100. He's the 3rd youngest, I think, after Vinod Kambli and Sir Don Bradman to have 2 double hundreds to his name. He's hungry to score runs away, bats in all conditions. So he's extremely, extremely good at the moment. Already. But how good he can be, I think you have to add a layer of, you have to understand his journey. His past, where he is now, but also you've got to understand the person to know whether mentally and the personality of the player really fits him to really kick on from here and do even better. And I've known Yashasvi Jaiswal for over close to 5 years now. I saw him as a young kid at Rajasthan Royals. And then we got to know him. I think he's just going to get better. I think he's got the resilience to withstand a lot of the challenges that come his way at international cricket. Take the rise and then the bumps and the falls along the way in his stride. And he's extremely driven and motivated, so he's going to be even better.
We'll get to his backstory because it's a fascinating one in a little bit. But if I show you the rankings, he's already the 4th best ranked player in the world in Test cricket. And there's some big names around, obviously Root and Brook, 1 and 2, Kane Williamson. There's a slight changing of the guard here, isn't there? If you think of the old Fab 4, which would be Root, Williamson, Smith, Kohli, not there. But there's some good young players here. Brook, Jaiswal, your countryman, Kamindu Mendis. How do you see the next kind of generational Fab 4 being? He's going to be amongst them, surely.
But he will definitely be amongst them. And kind of the odd one out in a way is Rishabh, being a wicket-keeper and the way he bats and the game he has. So you think, well, what's he doing there? But you see again how good he is. I think Jaiswal is slightly different to the rest in terms of the younger pack here. I think Root, Brook is pretty young as well, but Root, Williamson and Smith, they have a lot of games under their belt, and they took a while to really rise to this stage as well. But Jaiswal, from the start, has been meteoric in the terms of how he's risen, but also the achievements. He's got an appetite for big hundreds. And I think the changing of the guard is a natural evolution of the game. I'm not really sure whether the careers of Jaiswal and the rest will last as long as that of a Root or a Williamson or a Smith. But I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for us to see how they step up and play a long careers.
I mean, the game is changing quickly. If we show you, clearly as a young player, he's got a lot of T20 experience. He's played 67 games for your franchise and lots of T20 internationals as well. Interestingly, only one ODI, and that's probably explained because there's still the likes of Rohit and Virat Kohli are in India's team, but there's nothing to stop him having an outstanding ODI career as well.
No, but I think, when you see the amount of talent that's in India and the push and the competition for places, you understand why that he has to wait his turn, immaterial of how good he is. And also their kind of stand on rewarding first-class cricket and hard work from a whole host of cricketers. But he'll get his turn and he's going to be as good.
Virat Kohli at the end of the IPL said it's Test cricket where you're measured, where you make your reputation and where you are judged. Does the young cricketer, the 23-year-old like Yashasvi Jaiswal, think in the same way? Do they still have that passion for Test cricket as somebody like Virat Kohli?
Absolutely. Every young cricketer that I come across has that same passion. The only thing is they do understand what's on offer and how to navigate that cricketing landscape and the changing of it. So I think careers will come down, the span of careers will come down, and we're seeing it already. And I don't think it's going to be any different for Jaiswal, especially when he has to manage his body and his workload. But we had Joe Root at Rajasthan Royals, and we used to call Jaiswal Joswal because he never left Joe's side.
Yeah.
And Root,
soaking up
everything. And they weren't talking just T20, they were talking about everything, cricket and life. And he would sit right next to Joe for about 4 hours every night and just pester him with questions or just open mouth listening to Rooty. And Rooty was absolutely brilliant in our environment. And he's learned so much. And that's another aspect of Jaiswal. He's a fast learner and he wants to learn.
It's a fascinating backstory. We've got a picture of him as a 12-year-old. When he went from Uttar Pradesh down to Mumbai in search of an opportunity, living in a tent on the side of the Azad Maidan. I mean, he is the classic rags to riches story, isn't he?
He is, and it's been meteoric and fast. I mean, he was first given accommodation before the tents in a dairy in exchange for work, gets evicted because his cricket gets in the way of work. And Jwala Singh sees him, gets him into his cricket academy at Santa Cruz,